Dude, that whole like new Suikoden type game. Oh my god, man! I'm super pumped for that. Like, I'm really excited. I looked it up, and the people that are um, participating in the project are amazing as well. Hold on, I was gonna because I wrote a reply to that tweet, so it should be somewhere in there. Uh, okay, so story is being written by the team behind Suikoden 1 and 2, right? Oh, dude, they have screenshots. They have even a little video of the combat system. It seems to be turn based. And I don't know about the old Suikoden games because I never played them all that much. I played 3, but I barely remember it because it's been so long. But I don't know if it's like you set up all your attacks and then all your characters do them one after the other, or if the video that we saw was just kind of a quick cut of all the attacks without having the enemy kind of attack. But it's the graphics remind me a bit of like Octopath Traveler, but not as pixely and blocky. But it has kind of like the same kind of vignette, like around the screen and stuff. It is a name, yes. And it's the combat system seems to be turn based, and not every unit like on like one row and then the enemies on the other. It seems to be like more like 3D style. So like the enemy was kind of here, and the characters were like in the foreground, like around the like in a semicircle, and you could see like from each character's point of view when they were attacking, and you see them like jump on the boss, slash him, and then jump back, or like cast their spells, and then you follow the fireball into the boss and stuff. The 22-second video is the combat system, yeah, and there's a bunch of screenshots of like the actual like running around in town and stuff. So the story is being written by the same guy that wrote Suikoden 1 and 2. The battle designer is the one behind Suikoden 1 and 4, and the one behind Alliance Alive, which I've never played, but I do own, and it was on the poll that we had, so eventually we'll play it. Then the art is made by the person that made the art for Castlevania Area of Sorrow. It is any bound, yeah. It's going to be everywhere, from what I understood. And it's releasing on, like, everything, I think. It's going to be on Kickstarter as well. I think they're self-publishing, I'm not sure. The composer, there's actually 2 composers. One of them is Motoi Sakuraba, that composed for a bunch of Tales of games. And the other one is Michiko Naruke, which composed for the Wild Arms series. Notably, Wild Arms 3, which is one of my favorite JRPGs like ever. I loved Wild Arms 3. Like, it's... So yeah, the... Oh, and the system design is the person... Like, I'm assuming the menus, I guess? Because it's not a combat system, it's like something else. Suikoden Tierkreis, Suikoden Tactics, and Arcalast. Yeah. I have no idea what Arcalast is. I've never heard of this. Arcalast. Is that a game? Like... I mean, I'm assuming it's a game, obviously, but... It's an adventure RPG developed by Fuji Games. And it's apparently a game in the same vein of Suikoden. It's actually... A lot of people are saying that it's like a Suikoden kind of clone. Arcalas. Oh, it's a phone game. Okay, that explains it. The actual Euden Chronicle is not going to be a phone game, but Arca Last is. No, the new game is not a phone game. It's going to be released on all the consoles and stuff. It's the one game in the list of games that some of the devs have worked on that I just didn't know where it came from. The name is Arca Last. Like I'd never heard of that game before, and I was like, how is that like possible? The name doesn't ring a bell at all, and it's a JRPG. But then I looked it up, and that game is a phone game, and it seemed to have been only released in Japan, so that's why like I didn't know about it. Yeah, don't worry, dude. No. The actual game that's been announced is releasing on on consoles. From what I understood, it's releasing on like literally everything. I mean, I might be wrong, but hold on. Gematsu. Yeah, coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch, and PC. I mean, I hope so, right? Like, it wasn't great. It barely looked next gen when I saw it, and I was not wrong. Like, because it's not even running on the console. It's running like on. It's so weird. It's running like on the PC, and the Everwild isn't even a game yet. They don't even know what they want to do. Like, they literally said, like, in an interview afterwards, they're like, oh, like, because people were like, what's the gameplay like? Like, what kind of game is it? And they're like, oh, we don't know yet. We just liked, they just, like, add an idea for, like, a world, and they just kind of build that world, and they still don't have a clear story or a clear vision for what kind of game it is. They don't even know. Like, it's so weird, right? Like, it's I was honestly expected them to put their best foot forward, you know, because like they're behind, right? And a lot of like Xbox, like I'm not an Xbox fanboy. Like I never owned an Xbox. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I'm not saying that it's tainting my vision of that showcase, right? I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I do want Xbox to succeed, because like you said before yourself, I want them to kind of get like a super strong start so that both consoles can kind of compete against each other, and then we as gamers are winning because we just get better products all the time because they keep trying to one up each other, right? If one keeps running away all the time, they get complacent, and then the quality of the games kind of drops, and then it sucks for us, right? So my vision is I'd like for them both to do great, and especially Xbox because they've been behind. But that being said, they didn't put in their best foot forward. I don't think so. A lot of the games, almost none of the games had gameplay. A bunch of those games are coming to other stuff. Not all of them are exclusives, right? Like they're all coming to PC, like literally all of them. So that that kind of, I understand why they're doing this, but it kind of removes the reason why you'd get an Xbox. And other than that, there's a few kind of weird ass decisions, like show off Halo Infinite not running on Xbox Series X. So like you're showing the game and you're saying like, oh, it's gonna run at 60 FPS. Look at how smooth this is in 4K. But it's like it's running on a super powerful PC. Like it's not even an Xbox. And then the graphics barely look next gen. It kind of like, honestly, you would have told me this is like a video from like the latest Halo before this one, and I would have said like, huh, like it looks kind of the same. It doesn't look that impressive. And then there's another game too that was announced. I forgot which one it is. And it said in the video that it was supposed to be Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC, and that was during the presentation, And then afterwards, the video that they released on their YouTube channel, they modified it. I forget which game it is. They modified it and it removed Xbox One from it. It was a mistake. It's not coming. It's only coming to Xbox Series X and PC. Yet Microsoft specifically said before their presentation that there would be no exclusives and people would not be, like, they'll be able to play every game on the current gen for, you know, at least for the launch window, right? I'm not sure if it was a medium. I think it was a different game. It might have been a medium, and I'm not sure. But that's weird. Because it goes against what Microsoft said they would do, which is... Because everybody was like, oh, that's so pro-consumer. You don't have to buy the new console. You can just play on Xbox One. But then people are complaining because they're saying that it's going to hold back the games because they can't be as awesome because they're held back by the previous gen. And so some companies, it seems like, are kind of removing the tag Xbox One and they're leaving only Series. Like, it's a mess, man. I mean, it might have been the medium. I'm not sure, but it's so that whole presentation was a lie. There was a bunch of stuff that were just like flat out lies. Like Everwild looks super interesting, but it's not a game. Like, why is it even shown? You don't even know what the game is yet. The devs don't even know. Like, why are you even showing it? You know, like you're doing this backwards. They'll literally just like build an engine, put stuff in it, and then just like kind of did like a weird montage, and then they just like dropped it, like a weird cut of a video, dropped it during the presentation. They're like, oh, this is a game, where it's not even a game. Like, there's been no game behind it. It's literally just 3D animation slapped on into like a thing. Like, it's weird. I don't know. It's really weird to me. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense in that presentation. I don't know why they're doing this. That's it. That's exactly it. Like, be upfront, and we'll be patient. We'll understand. But if you try and bait and switch us, like, show us a thing, and then like, because the problem is like they showed us this right during the video, during the presentation, and then at the like afterwards, in all those like separate interviews with like journalists and stuff, they're like, oh no, but we lied actually. It's a different thing that was what was shown. But the problem is like a lot of people are not following the news cycle that comes afterwards. So they're only seeing the video, they get all hyped up for like something, and that was a lie. And then they miss the other part, which is like, oh no, but that's not exactly that. It's actually this part that's like left off in like an article somewhere on a website. It's weird, man. Like, Yes. And that's fair. Sony is not better. Like, The Last of Us 2 fiasco was horrible. The marketing was all over the place, and it was like advertising a different game entirely. Like, entirely advertising a different game. Like, to the point where, like, it's been proven that, like, a lot of the videos were, like, modified to include Joel in, like, different scenes where he wasn't actually in them. To trick players. Like, it's literally false advertising. This is exactly what this is. And that's what they did. And they got away with it. And worse, some people give them 10 out of 10. Like, some people rewarded that behavior. Yeah, that was... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you don't want to spoil it? There's a way to... Dude, okay. Tell me from all the stuff like in Cyberpunk, right? Like all the videos we've seen. Do you have an idea what the main story is? Like, yeah, you got like a weird chip and stuff, and you're trying to like retake the city or whatever it is, but like it's still pretty vague. I don't know anything about the story. They managed to keep me interested without having to show me anything about the story. They could have done the same. Like it's not impossible, right? Like it's entirely possible to do like videos and montage and stuff without having to trick player and lie to them, while still keeping the story a mystery. Like it's so weird. Or if you like, just be upfront. Like the reason why they weren't upfront with it is because they knew people would freak out and wouldn't like it. And like, imagine if they would have said like, oh, so this game you're following Ellie. She left Jackson and she's going to Seattle. You know, and she meets like those, you know, as part of the story, and she's meeting those two factions that are kind of fighting against each other in this location. And she kind of gets and you know, kind of she get like stuck in between the two, and you just leave it at that. You don't specify why she's there. You don't specify that Joel is dead or anything else really. You just keep it as that. That's vague enough, but it still conveys about, you know, where we're going and what's happening, right? And you just don't specify anything. Like you don't have to just lie and insert Joel like everywhere, including cutscenes that are like way later in the game where he's not even there, just to try and trick people. I don't know. I don't want to complain or I don't want the entire stream to be me complaining. But I'm just saying like it makes no sense to just be, because I just think it's rude. It's rude to the players. It's rude to the fans, right? Of that series, but also of Xbox. Like a lot of people were like, our Xbox fans are unhappy with the presentation, and they're rightfully so. Like it just feels like they got bait and switch it and switch. Like a lot of the games were just like, oh, it's coming to the Xbox Series X, and there's no gameplay. Here's like 5 seconds of a trailer. Like the Fable thing, right? People are like, oh my god, Fable is coming back. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. No release date. We just know it's coming at some point. And we don't see any gameplay or anything. That's fine, because Sony did the same thing during their presentation. The only problem is that we're getting to a point where like both I wasn't a fan of the Sony one, by the way. Like I didn't very much care for the Sony presentation either. But both of them, like both presentations, were just a bunch of trailers with no gameplay or barely any. Like I just want like, why is it so hard? Just how are they not ready yet with those games, by the way? How? Like it's like it feels to me like both Microsoft and Sony are surprised by the fact that their new console is releasing soon. They're both kind of like, oh my god, like quick, just announce anything. Like, how are you? You're making it. Were you not able to kind of get the ball rolling on most of these games like 3 years before or 2 years before? Like, how is this a surprise? Like, am I crazy? Like, how is Fable only seems to be only just being started, worked on? Like, was Microsoft surprised themselves? Like, oh my, that's right, we own Fable. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, how? It should have been planned beforehand. They should have been working on this so that when they reach the point where this is the presentation to sell you on the next console generation, here are all those games, they're all running on Xbox Series X, here's gameplay. Like, it's crazy that all of these games on both Sony and Microsoft side are just like no gameplay, just like here's like a quick teaser, That's it. Like, oh, fan wants to hear about that franchise. They just like put something really quickly. It's going to release in 2023, by the way. But here's like a 5 second of a CGI cutscene that has no bearing on the rest of the game, and you'll never see these things again. Like it's crazy to me. And again, I'm not saying it's only a Microsoft thing. Like Sony did the same thing on a few titles as well. It's just weird. Like I understand if it's like, you know, you're trying to build hype for something, and you know, like it's a slow year, you don't have anything to show really, and it's during the life cycle of a console. There's already titles coming out that came out before. There are titles coming out in the future. It's not really clear, you know, like you're in a weird spot. But this is like the launch of a console. Like what? Yeah, but like Blizzard isn't tied to any launches though, right? Like that's I feel like that's not as bad when a company does that, when they're just like they're not tied to anything. They're just kind of like, just, you know, I just want to build hype for whatever. Like look at Elder Scrolls 6, for example. Like sucks that you only see that, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world, right? It's the same strat, but it's not the my problem is this was your time to shine, to sell me on buying an Xbox Series X or a PS5 on day one. And a lot of those titles are just like, here's a quick CGI thing with the name of the game, but it's coming out in like 3 years. Or like 2 years. Like if people are saying like the Fable game is probably going to release like somewhere in 2022. Like, that's crazy. If you really wanted to make the announcement now, it should have been with gameplay, and the game should have been like long underway. The fact that it wasn't means that they were unprepared, or they only threw it together and only started working on it recently because they felt like they didn't have enough games to show to hype people up, and they decided to throw that in just to try and get something out. Which means, again, they were unprepared. That's also true, yeah. And hey, Byron, what's up, man? I'm good, dude. Just been thinking a little bit. Because, I mean, I felt like yesterday the Xbox conference was kind of meh. But with all the news that's coming out after the fact, I'm really disappointed. Yeah, it feels that way, man. Fat man. Yeah, absolutely. It 100% feels that way. Feels like they were unprepared, and they kind of, like I said, it felt like they were surprised themselves that their console is releasing soon, and they're kind of scrambling to put stuff together. And Sony was doing the same thing. Like I have zero feeling that Sony is actually prepared for the launch of their own console. It feels like both of them are rushing to get it out the door for like, I don't know why. It's like they know like something that we don't, that the console needs to be released like this year before X date, otherwise like the world will explode. It just feels like both of them could have been like left in the oven a little bit more. Maybe a year. Like by that point, a lot more titles would have been ready, and it would have been like a super hype launch for both consoles. We would have gotten like super cool announcement, gameplay trailers, like a bunch of stuff. Like for now, it feels kind of flat. on both sides. I'm slightly more tempted for the PS5, obviously, because I own all the other PlayStation consoles, and also because I have more faith in their exclusives, because they've proven themselves with the PS4. But it's still not saying much. Hellblade is on PC. I don't know what that was. These two people just kind of arrived here. We're close. Yeah, Hellblade is going to be on PC for sure. The first one was on PC as well. Well, I mean, the first one wasn't... It was before Microsoft bought